The King of Fighters, SNK's highly grossed, fan-favorite, and popularized video game franchise of all time. With characters so varied and different, fan favorites, and character sprite work as perfect as the day near come. From its anime and manga adaptations, from a video game fighting genre and a company that almost was wrecked, to its flourishing 30-year anniversary to this day. From its iterations, King of Fighters 94, to its current iteration of King of Fighters 15, we take a deep dive look into what made SNK the best among the best video game fighting companies, and why SNK and the King of Fighters are holding their ground 30 years on from King of Fighters 94. What started as a crossover from Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting games prior, the King of Fighters video game was meant to be a crossover between Fatal Fury and Art of Fighting characters. What started as a 2-3-man team roster has grown to an 8-3-man team roster comprising of 24 characters. In its first iteration, the King of Fighters 94 brought fan favorites and video game enthusiasts worldwide to the spectacle called the King of Fighters. Shin Nihon Kikaku, or SNK for short, brought King of Fighters to life with amazing sprite work and graphic work that amazed and allured fighting game enthusiasts worldwide. With its iteration now complete, a new protag was selected. From its original protag, Terry Bogard, and his rival, Ryo Sakazaki, came a descendant of the Kusanagi clan, Kyo Kusanagi, that would usher the new King of Fighters era to a brand new landscape of video game fighting genres. What started as a mere concept grew into a story lore as far back, steeped in Japanese lore. King of Fighters 94 was the prelude to King of Fighters 95 and brought in a new rival to the Kusanagi descendant. Yuri Yagami was the catalyst that started a new storyline, the Yamata no Orochi, translated as the Orochi, the 8-headed serpent, dating back 1,800 years. King of Fighters 95 and the SNK group firmly planted the seeds that would become the driving force throughout the King of Fighters franchise. Anime and manga worldwide. The King of Fighters manga and anime, Samurai Showdown, Fatal Fury, and Art of Fighting inspired what was going to be the King of Fighters iteration to this day. King of Fighters 96 brought in a new group called the Hakeshu, translated as the 8 Kings of the Orochi, with Gainitz as the sub-boss to what would become the final boss that drove King of Fighters 97. Separated into 4 arcs, the Orochi Saga, the Ness Saga, the Tales of Ash, and the newly crowned Shuhei. The King of Fighters and its 30-year anniversary has spanned fan favorites and video game enthusiasts worldwide. Its ever-evolving sprite work and graphic work, with a team as hard as work, making sure that King of Fighters lives up to its name. SNK knew the mission at hand, and they knew the legacy that would become. King of Fighters drew fan favorites everywhere, with its branch also opening at the America headquarters. Shin Nihon Kikaku knew the mission was set, and on, annually, the King of Fighters franchise was born. King of Fighters 94 brought in sprite work that would amaze video game enthusiasts everywhere, with its ever evolving sprite work that would suit the then Neo Geo MVS machine video game system. King of Fighters and the SNK group knew what they had in store, a gold mine. Drawing in fan favorites and game enthusiasts as young as 6 all the way through, SNK knew a landmine was struck. From King of Fighters 97 to 98, a dream match was spawned. For every 4 episodes of that saga, it would bring in what they would call a dream match. King of Fighters 98 and 2002 was that. And on to its final from the years of 1999 to 2000. The Shin Nihon Kikaku group faced immense challenges. On a year-to-year basis, the King of Fighters franchise held the SNK group on its toes. But when tragedy struck and bankruptcy was on a high, through the years where they collaborated with through the years that they collaborated with Capcom, releasing SVC Chaos, C vs S 1 and 2, the Millennium Fight tournaments, SNK faced a very dark time. That's when everything changed for them, and bankruptcy was on the horizon. Forced to sell their stock everywhere, with nothing on their table, they sought merchants that they could think of after Capcom was a Brazilian fighting game machine company called Playmore. With this, they had to restock and regroup. Releasing games under their new banner Playmore, SNK released fighting games like Rage of the Dragons, Metro Melee, King of Fighters 2001 and 2002. They knew they had to do something good. King of Fighters 2001 was poorly received on the arcade system, but on the PlayStation Network it was received with mixed reviews. SNK knew what was at dire straits, and they had to act fast. Drawing on their successes from the King of Fighters, Art of Fighting, Fatal Fury, and Samurai Showdown games, SNK knew their stock was at an all-time low, but they didn't give up. By the fall into, they sought a new merger liquidation system, with Playmore bringing in most of its stock back. SNK was forced to merge with Playmore, and they had to rename themselves anew. By the time King of Fighters 2003 had come, SNK, under their brand new banner, SNK Playmore, released a new set of King of Fighters games under that banner, with 2003, 11, Maximum Impact 1 and 2, Regulation A1 and 2, and 12. SNK Playmore had to dig deep through dark waters to make sure that they stay relevant in a time where Street Fighter, Tekken, Soul Calibur, and the other fighting games were coming on the horizon. SNK was left with no choice whilst they regrouped. On the arcade system, King of Fighters 12 was poorly received, with its home console also poorly received. The gameplay system of King of Fighters 12 was so bad that fighting game enthusiasts were forced to leave SNK if they didn't get their act right. And then a brand new hope came, in the form of King of Fighters 13. Drawing from their sprites that they did in King of Fighters 12, the SNK group knew they had to regroup quick and fast. Retracing their sprites from King of Fighters 12, King of Fighters 13 was forced to downgrade everything that they had done, but add in more to what their fans and their gaming enthusiasts' palates had dearly desired. And then King of Fighters 13 was born, to an acclaim and roar of video game enthusiasts and fan favorites everywhere. With a brand new netcode gameplay system, a brand new boss, continuing the successes of King of Fighters 13 onto its final storyline, the Tales of Ash Crimson, that saw its protag and anti-hero Ash Crimson sacrifice his life to open up a brand new dawn for SNK and King of Fighters. And then silence. In the midst of SNK rebranding itself to its Pachinko games, they knew they had to act fast, and fast they had to. Drawing on from the mixed reviews of King of Fighters Maximum Impact and Regulation A, they knew they had to adapt to a brand new system. Ferociously they worked through the entirety of King of Fighters, from the entirety of that age of King of Fighters 13 to what was an unknown certainty. But then, throughout the fall, the summer, and the winter of 2015, they dropped hints. People had written off SNK forever, but little did they know that a brand new age was coming. And then, a light. In the fall of 2015, SNK came back. With no trace whatsoever, people had written them off. But then, they dropped hints of some of the returning characters and brand new characters, relying on a formula that had helped them throughout King of Fighters 94 all the way through to 2003, and later on 11 and 13. They knew what they had to do, dropping character trailers everywhere and on the internet, and at that time Twitter and YouTube. No one knew what SNK was doing at that time, until the summer of 2016. King of Fighters 14 was at a near release. Everyone knew that SNK had come back from the depths of what was a dark silence in 2010 all the way through to 2015. Everybody knew that SNK was gonna come back strong. And then, the summer of 2016, King of Fighters 14 was released on the home console and Xbox everywhere. August the 26th of 2016 was that day that King of Fighters and the Shin Nihon Kikaku group came back. And that was it. To the amazement and roar and positive reception of King of Fighters 14, SNK firmly stamped themselves back into the fighting game genre that they have so missed since 2010. King of Fighters and the SNK group was back, scrapping away what was Playmore since 2003. SNK knew they had to go back to their roots, and for King of Fighters 14, they did as so, bringing back their iconic SNK background music. King of Fighters 14 was on a roll, bringing in brand new characters and returning characters and a brand new storyline. King of Fighters was on the map, but they had to look back to what made them great, and what made them great was the era of Samurai Showdown, and that was released after the success of King of Fighters 14. Samurai Showdown on the PlayStation console was released in 2019, and they knew from then on it was high time they had to come back. And silence within that period made them even stronger. Their legendary characters like Terry Bogard, Shiranui, Ryo Sakazaki, knew that they had a brand new transition on their hands, drafting them from King of Fighters to a brand new space in Smash Bros, Soul Calibur the remake, and King of Fighters mobile platform games. SNK was finally on the map. And then, a brand new age in King of Fighters 15 came anew. Continuing on the success of King of Fighters 14, SNK had firmly established themselves as among the greats of the greats, and now, 30 years onwards since the dawn of King of Fighters 94, SNK had firmly positioned themselves with their legendary characters Terry Bogard and Mai Shiranui. King of Fighters has firmly established what they had made so wrong since their bankruptcy, collaborating with Capcom with two of their most legendary characters in Terry Bogard and Mai Shiranui. King of Fighters, SNK, can firmly say that 30 years on, it is their day. At a time where they were finding themselves since their bankruptcy, to their liquidation, and finally their re-emergence, the King of Fighters and the Shin Nihon Kikaku group can finally say that 30 years was worth it, and though it was long, treacherous, and sometimes distraughtful, they never gave up. They never had given up, and they knew that this time a legacy was brought on, to a legacy that Eiichiro Kawasaki of Capcom and Street Fighter glory days, to a legacy that they can finally say that this is their own, to drawing in fan favorites and gaming enthusiasts everywhere since the dawn of the fighting game genre in 1989, since the success of Street Fighter II. They can finally say that SNK has become one of the greats, and 30 years on, since its first release of King of Fighters 94, from a 2-man, 3-member roster to a character roster that spans nations, universes, backgrounds, storylines, connections, rivalries, brothers, sisterhoods. SNK has celebrated 30 years of its fighting game moniker in the landscape of the fighting game genre. This is an ode to the Shin Nihon Kikaku. This is an ode to the Shin Nihon Kikaku group. 30 years onwards, this is their time. This is their moment. 30 years is their time.